The team had a couple off day at the Glacier and Matanuska Glacier. How's those kind of team events help the team out in the games?
They're great because we do have some new guys in that haven't been here a super long time, and it's just part of the ABL experience and the Alaska experience for these guys to see things like the Matanuska Glacier. I mean, for most of them, it's a once in a lifetime thing, and it's a pretty special thing to see those. It's just something very special to be able to see.
And we kind of noticed, all the Aggies didn't go together, all the Tennessee volunteer guys didn't go together on the Glacier. A lot of kind of team bonding, different guys from different schools going together. So is that kind of, something you're seeing now later in the season?
Yeah, and that's kind of fun to see guys from different places starting to hang out with each other. And to see guys not necessarily just go off with the guys they might have came here with. And that's where the long-term friendships and the bonding really occurs.
And then another bonding experience with the Bingo Hilton. Talk about that and how it is staying there.
The Hilton is legendary, and it's not a Hilton. I mean, it is truly, we are sleeping in the back of a bingo hall, my coaching staff and I included. And, it's part of the ABL experience. It's part of this whole deal. It's a rite of passage. I mean, these guys are sleeping in the same beds that some major leaguers, former and current, slept in. And, if it's good enough for guys like Jason Giambi, I think it's good enough for the Matsu Miners of 2014.
And, a little road trip down to Kenai, first road trip of the summer for the Miners. Kind of talk about, going into that, lost a couple of games. What was kind of the mindset going down to Kenai?
Well, we knew we had to win. And, I mean, ideally, anytime you go on the road and you get a split like that, it's good. It just so happened that the second game, to win that second game was really big for us. We've played okay. We haven't played bad baseball over the stretch where, we've lost some games. A couple of nights we've hit, but we haven't pitched. And, maybe a strike call, ball call here or there, goes our way or against us. Or, maybe we don't execute something defensively that we should. And, and if you're not playing great, you can't hide from certain things. You can get away with a miscommunicated first and third play, or maybe not getting two guys in with the bases loaded and nobody out. As when you're playing really well, you can get away with those things, and it's just our blip on the timeline that hasn't been the greatest for us.
Yeah, and the left on bases things were something that we were noticing. A lot of runs not being able to be scored. I think there were 10 left on base the first game. Is that kind of the major thing that's kind of going wrong?
No, I don't worry about that too much because the hard part is getting them on. And it's really easy to fall in love with looking at the left on base column and getting frustrated with it. But the hard part is getting guys on. And if you keep flooding the bases and keep putting guys on base, then the worm will turn. But if you're struggling to get guys on, you're struggling to get guys into those spots, that's when you've got that real reason to be concerned.
And kind of talking about the pitching, the first game used the bullpen a lot, but in the second game, Tyler Stubblefield just did an outstanding job pitching.
Yeah, he was great. He's a big game pitcher from a big time school, and that's what we expect, and those are the kinds of outings we expect out of him, and he delivered for us.
And the new guys on the pitching staff, Matt Decker, Ryan Oglesby, Isaiah Terrazas, and John Reed, who had an outstanding spot start.
Yeah.
What are they adding to the team?
The two lefties, Decker and Reed, give us another look out of the pen. Reed spot started for us the other night and was fantastic. Terrazas is kind of the hold guy. If we're down one or maybe up one in the middle innings, he gives us a chance to either tie or hold things the way they are so we can get to Oglesby, who's the bridge man, to get to Vince. And all those guys have done a good job for us.
And on the batting aspect of the game, notice in the middle of the lineup in the second game, Decker out of Stanford and Meyer had just an outstanding game in the second game, and also new leadoff hitter with Paul Panachone. So the lineup, batting-wise, kind of shaking up a little bit.
Yeah, when things are going really good, you roll it out there, and sometimes when things get a little scuffly, you gotta change some things and put some guys into some different spots. I mean, the whole thing is to try and put a guy in a spot where he can succeed, and if the rest of the league has kind of figured a guy out that might be hitting there, I mean, maybe you throw him in a different area, and maybe he can be pitched to a little bit differently.
little bit of a tough stretch against the Pilots last week. What do you think some of the reasoning behind that was? Maybe pitching, hitting. It seemed like maybe the double headers could have gotten to the team as well.
Yeah, I just think it's baseball. I think, some days you're going to pitch really well and you're not going to hit, and other days you're going to hit really well and you're not going to pitch, and some days you're just okay at both. You don't get the big pitch when you need it, or you don't get the big hit when you need it, and sometimes you don't get the ball to fall when you need it. And one of those games I think we lined out, 7 or 8 times, and we hit some balls to the track that have normally been going out of the ballpark for us. It's just a tough stretch, and that's baseball. When you play every day, it's never going to be always roses.
And you've sort of set up your lineup differently during that losing streak a little bit, trying to maybe find guys different spots in the order to sort of break out of their funks. Cameron Frost, we saw him mainly lead off, then bat 7th, then bat 5th the last 2 games.
Yeah.
But what do you kind of, in a funk like that, what's your sort of mindset going into making that lineup?
Well, the big thing is to try and put guys in the best position where they can be successful for themselves and for us. And, by no means am I any kind of expert or anything like that, but I do kind of follow some of the sabermetric stuff and about lineup creation, and on-base percentage and OPS is big, and I try and follow a bit of a Bill James model at times with how I want to put guys in certain spots, and we kind of matched it up as best we could these last few nights. And even the first game in Kenai that we lost, I really liked how the lineup turned over and how we were getting guys into spots where they could be successful. And I liked the way the lineup operated, so we'll see how that plays out from here on.
And we also see a lot of different guys, not just the typical maybe 1 through 4 hitters, really sort of start to shine for you guys. Dane Wonderlick has been somebody who's come in recently, and he's really made a big impact.
Wonderlick's done a good job. He was obviously, I think he was player of the game like the first night of the summer, and he's worked really hard. He's been kind of in and out of the lineup, and he's continued to work on his game, and he's continued to really bust his butt, and I'm really proud of him for that. And it's nice to see a guy that really wants to be a good ball player and really works hard contribute, to his team being successful.
We've also seen some guys play different positions. Of course, Terrence Connolly, we've seen him at second, we've seen him now at third, and we've also seen Wonderlick in left. At first we were sort of seeing him in right, and Nick Senzel seems to really be all around that infield.
Yeah, Senzel, that's a matter of trying to find a way to get his bat in the lineup most nights. He's a really offensive player, and he does a good job for us defensively. Connolly does the same thing. He gives us a lot of different looks. He could play all 4 spots in the infield if we needed him to. We do have an abundance of riches, and it's really nice to have, whether we're winning games or losing games. It's really tough to make out this lineup because of the quality of person and player that I have.
We've also talked about how the Oilers have a very lefty-heavy lineup. We'll see him again in Monday's game. But Tyler Stubblefield pitched just what has maybe been one of the best starts of the summer for your pitching staff.
Yeah.
And you guys have actually a very righty-heavy lineup, really, with Cam Newell being that maybe only lefty other than Terrence Connolly in the lineup. Talk about that. Does that seem to really give you guys a boost, or does it hurt you at all?
You know what? I've had it both ways. I think my last year in Texas, I think out of my 15 position or 16 position players, I think I had like 12 left-handed hitters. I don't really put a whole lot of stock into it. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, I guess. But, eventually everybody's got to hit, whether you're right-handed or left-handed or ambidextrous. Everybody's going to have to hit. I do think the left-left matchup is a little tougher. I think a lot of it is because coaches, we make such a big deal out of it. I think we make it tougher than it really needs to be or seems to be. We haven't seen a lot of super tough right-on-right matchups. We haven't had that funky delivery guy like Oglesby, that we have, or like a true submarine guy. But, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you still got to hit the white thing and hit it a long way and hit it where they ain't.
Cam Newell has been one of your top 3 best offensive players. We've seen him in that 3 spot, we've seen him in the 4 spot, and recently in the 2 spot, probably where you want one of your better hitters. How has he really had a big impact on this team? He's leading the league in average slugging on base percentage. Seems like he's your guy.
He's really complete. He can hit a homer, he can move a runner, he can drop a bunt down for a base hit, he can steal you a base. He's a really, really complete baseball player. And a lot of schools of thought, modern schools of thought now say you throw your best hitter or your most complete hitter in the 2 spot. And that's why Mike Trout hits 2 for the Angels. And it's one of those things where if I can get Panicone and Newell that 5th at bat and have those guys coming up in big spots, in the 8th or the 9th inning, or if we go into extras, I mean that's huge for everybody involved.